What is up, YouTube? It's your boy, your poet, Kendrick Youngblood. For those of y'all who've been on the channel for a while, do y'all recognize this room? Yes, no? I figured I would record another video in here. I was kind of missing the vibe, you know what I'm saying? Today we're gonna be giving 10 tips for poets and artists on how to stay motivated. I've actually written them down because ain't nobody got time for memorizing them. If you see me looking down a lot, it's because I'm looking at my notes, all right? But I definitely think this will help a lot of you. And again, this isn't just for poets. Yes, I'm a poet, but I'm an artist in general, and I think some of these can definitely apply to all of you. Okay, so actually, in fact, watch to the end of the video because I'm gonna be sharing a very personal story about one of the most demoralizing experiences I've ever had that made me actually want to quit poetry, but how I used that instead as fuel to motivate me towards my goals. Tip number one, connect with other artists who have similar goals as you. It sounds very cliche, very obvious even, but you'd be surprised how many of you feel burnt out because you haven't stayed connected in a community of artists. I remember before I had ever gotten a poem published, feeling like, oh my God, I keep getting these rejection letters time after time after time. And one of my friends was also getting rejection letters over and over and over again. And then one day, homeboy got a publication. You know what I'm saying? He was all excited and stuff. And like, I was excited for him, but at the same time, I was excited for myself because no offense to that friend of mine, he's good at what he does, but so am I. You know what I'm saying? So if he can do it, then I can definitely do it. So that really put like a fire under me to just keep going and don't give up. I knew my publication was close. You know what I'm saying? And sure enough, I ended up getting my first poem published. Story about that later. Tip number two kind of connects to tip number one, and this is having accountability partners to check your progress. So just like the first tip, where you're in a community of different artists who have similar goals as you, these same artists can also be people who hold you accountable. So if you say, I need to finish this poetry collection by the end of the year, they're gonna be checking you. Like, hey, are you making progress on that thing? Like, hey, Kendrick, it's the end of the year. Did you ever complete that poetry collection? Even if you're not a poet, all right? Let's say you're a singer. Hey, did you complete that album? You know, you've been hyping up this album for the longest, but we haven't seen it. You know what I'm saying? And now, of course, you don't want a community of poets who are mean or like making fun of you or degrading you because you haven't reached the goals you set for yourself. But at the same time, tough love is love. And you'll know the difference between people being mean and people actually caring for you, right? So those who care for you will be like, hey, Kendrick, whatever happened to joining that poetry slam team? Or I thought you said you were gonna start making YouTube videos and start posting poems on your YouTube. Whatever happened to all that? You know, like people holding you accountable is a great way to remind yourself, hey, you've already told people about your plans. Don't go looking like a quitter now, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, number two, have other artists hold you accountable for your progress. Tip number three, you should view your art as more than something you merely produce, but actually a lifestyle. And what better way to do that than in the clothes you wear? All right, that's why I'm actually with Poet Life. Yeah, y'all saw how slick I did that? How I slid that real in, real smooth? Yeah. Poet Life is an organization of poets and artists who are dedicated to uplifting the poetry community and building the poetry industry. And honestly, one of the ways we do this is actually through our clothing line, all right? What better way to remind yourself that like this is a life I'm living than what you're wearing on your body? You know what I'm saying? Anytime you see yourself in the mirror, it's another reminder, like this ain't a game for me. I'm not just a poet or an artist because I make art. It's because I live it, I breathe it, I walk it. You see what I'm saying? I'm talking t-shirts, hoodies, sweatshirts, jackets, beanies, backpack caps, the whole 9 yards. We got that. Keep in mind, even if you don't identify as a poet, if you consider yourself an artist who expresses themselves through your words, you're a poet in my book. We got a whole variety of different colors, sizes. Y'all know this looks clean. Y'all know this looks clean. All right, so if you're interested, go to the link in the description below, poetlifegear.com. You'll see it in the description. Use the discount code Youngblood to get a discount on your purchases. And for those of you who are content creators hoping to join an affiliate program like Poet Life, there's also a link in the description to do that. I invite y'all to become affiliates yourselves. Now back to the video. Tip number four are two sayings that kind of go hand in hand that my mom used to tell me when I was growing up that I really carried into adulthood, and I'm glad I did. The first one is, your gift will make room for you. All right. And the second is, find a man that is diligent in what he does, and he will stand before kings and not mere men. And what those two quotes are essentially saying is that your gifts and talents will actually open doors for you and bring about opportunities that you never really thought possible. So don't give up and keep working on your craft, because one day you're going to be standing among kings. All right. So I'll present an example from my own life. I remember grinding my hiney off on poetry and YouTube. I was giving it my all in my poems, trying to get published in this journal and that journal and that journal. I was trying different things, trying out different techniques. And then for my YouTube, I was giving out all this content, trying to be as consistent as possible, was going months and only getting like 200 subscribers in 1 year of constant grind. Man, that stuff used to be so painful. You know what I mean? And when I tell people I was a YouTuber, they were like, okay, everybody and their grandma's a YouTuber, whatever, you know? Like they kind of roll their eyes and it's like, no, I'm gonna do this thing. Like I'm gonna really do it. And I kept putting my work into it. And all it took really was just that one video. And even for my poetry, like getting published, all it took was one publication. And all of a sudden I started getting published left and right and left and right. That one video I'm talking about was a reaction to Amanda Gorman's inauguration poem. If you haven't seen that, I'll put it in the card above so you can definitely check that out. That was the first reaction video I ever did that blew up. And look, I'm not saying I'm the most talented poet or the most talented YouTuber. That's not what I'm saying when I brought up those two quotes. However, I am pretty gifted at entertaining people, all right? My reactions are entertaining, y'all tell me. And I know that's my gift, so I'm using it to the best of my abilities. It's opening doors for me. Look, I had 2 opportunities come up very recently in the month of March. The first, obviously, is being affiliated with Poet Life Now. Being an ambassador for them is honestly one of the craziest things that's ever happened, like ever, all right? They even got me on their podcast recently to talk about my journey as a poet and YouTuber. Definitely check that out. I'll put the link to the video in the description below. But the second opportunity I had was to be part of a video project involving 30 different poets to answer the question of what is poetry. All right, I was very honored to be invited because these poets are people who are like world renowned. You know what I mean? I was very honored. I was looking at myself like I don't belong. You know what I mean? In fact, if you want to check that out as well, I'm going to put the link in the description below, but you can actually watch that video project on Dimitri Reyes Poet's channel. He's someone I've looked up to since I started YouTube. He's one of the reasons I even started YouTube in the first place. All right, tip number 5. It is better to be prepared for an opportunity and not have one than to have an opportunity and not be prepared for it. And if that quote doesn't make sense, here's another way of looking at it. Just imagine that tomorrow a really big opportunity were to come. Say you're a rapper and a producer were to visit a place you hang out very often at, and they were like, hey, I heard you're a rapper, freestyle something for me. Because you haven't been practicing freestyle in a while, you're cold. You know what I'm saying? You try to hop on a beat and it's like you're clunky, it's not really flowing that well. The producer's like, I've heard enough, no thanks, and they move on. You just missed that opportunity because you weren't prepared. Now imagine that every tomorrow is that tomorrow. Imagine that tomorrow that producer's gonna show up and ask you to freestyle. Are you gonna be prepared for it? Imagine that tomorrow a Poetry Slam team looking for a new artist to hop onto their team comes by and like asks you to share some of your poetry. Do you have what it takes? Do you have a product prepared to showcase? If not, then you need to get to work. You know what I'm saying? So imagine that every tomorrow is that tomorrow. Every tomorrow is the day when that certain someone who could hook you up with a good opportunity is gonna come and ask you to showcase your work. Tip number 6, write a list of short-term goals that lead you to a larger goal. All right. And as you complete those short-term goals, actually cross them out. Don't erase them. Like cross them out so you can still see which ones you've completed. There's something about that keeps you moving because it makes you feel like you're hitting checkpoints on the way to the ultimate destination. All right. If you just have that one big goal there and you're like, oh, I'm gonna get a Grammy one day or something like that. That's nice. I'm not saying you can't do it. I'm not making fun of you or anything like that or discrediting and validating your grind. I'm not doing any of that. However, good luck when that's the only goal you have in sight and it takes you years to get there. You're gonna burn out and you're gonna feel like you haven't completed anything. I'm telling you, have those short-term goals. Instead of just saying, I wanna get that Grammy one day, be like, okay, yeah, I wanna get that Grammy, but first I wanna complete a full-length album. No. In fact, first I wanna complete an EP, then a full-length album. Then I wanna get a Grammy nomination. And then I wanna get a Grammy. You see what I'm saying? Like, have those steps. Tip number 7, here's another quote. I really like quotes, I'm sorry. If you're going to do it, go all the way. I don't know if you've ever seen that image of the miner who's like trying to dig for diamonds and he's almost there, but he's been doing it for so long. He's like, I quit. I'm not gonna find it at all. And it was like just on the other side of that last patch of dirt. If he had just dug a little more, he would have struck diamonds. You know what I mean? Don't be that person. Don't be that person. If you're going to do it, go all the way. Don't be that person who gets this close to finishing a project and thinks to themselves, you know what, it's not worth it. I've been trying for so long. I'm not getting anywhere with it. And that could have been the very project that blew you up. That's the crazy thing. That one YouTube video, that one song, that one poem could have been what set you on the map. You know what I mean? Like, you just got to go all the way. I have this saying, you cannot spell poetry without the word try. Okay, so if you're gonna start a project, you finish it. All right, the last thing you wanna do is ask yourself, what if I gave that thing my all? What's the worst that can happen? It doesn't work out? Okay, well, the rest of what you've been doing hasn't been working out anyway. So like, the best that could happen is you blow up, all right? So if you're going to do it, go all the way. Tip number 8, share your poems, your music, your comedy, your rap songs, anything like that. Share it at open mics, all right? To get feedback from other people. You might be thinking your content sucks because you're comparing it to professionals in their fields. There's nothing like some good motivation from an open mic, all right? There's people who will be like gassing you up. Yeah, that person, the man, you know what I'm saying? They'll walk up to you, tell you how much your work inspired them and stuff like that. There's nothing like going to an open mic and having supportive artists gas you up, all right? So definitely do that. If you haven't gotten any feedback from your work, go to an open mic, share some of it. If you're a painter even, open mics, I know it's an open mic, so you're supposed to say something into the mic, but at the end of the day, you could really just go up there with a painting, talk about the painting, how you made it and stuff like that, and people will be really invested to hear what you have to say, you know what I'm saying? So whatever kind of artist you are, definitely go to some open mics sometimes. You'd be surprised how that feedback can actually motivate you and remind you of how good your art is. Tip number 9, and this is a big one, have a list of people who need you to succeed more than you need you to succeed. Let me give you an example of this. My little brother's on the autism spectrum, okay? For years, he's needed speech therapy, maybe even music therapy too. He has some issues communicating. It's been very difficult for us. There's other issues he has too, but that's probably the most pressing one, all right? He's what, 16 right now? And he still can't make full-blown conversations with us. We can see it's stressful for him sometimes trying to get the words out and he can't. I need money to be able to get him that therapy. Okay, I do. All right, so I've been grinding on YouTube. That's been another stream of income in addition to the 2 part-time jobs I already have. I want to succeed for me, yes, but that's not enough sometimes. Sometimes wanting to succeed for myself isn't gonna cut it. That's not gonna keep me staying up till 3 a.m. in the morning making YouTube videos. It's just not, okay? It's not gonna keep me up till 5 a.m., 6 a.m. Sometimes I pull all-nighters on these YouTube videos. Y'all don't even know that. I don't talk about that. But I do it because I need the money to take care of my little bro, you know? Who is it that needs you to succeed more than you need you to succeed? Are y'all see what I'm saying? And number 10, learn from the journey of other artists you look up to. I don't know, there's something about seeing someone you aspire to be like and finding out that they had humble beginnings just like you, or even more humble than yours. You know what I mean? People who really started from the bottom and you're like, yo, I have no idea how you made it to where you are now. Get to know their stories, because at the end of the day, they're not these gods among men. They're people just like you and me. Maybe there's just some things they did different. Maybe sure, they got lucky in some areas, but at the end of the day, you don't get to be the best of the best just off luck alone. You know what I mean? So find out those stories of people you admire and use that as motivation, all right? Cliche, but it works, all right? I don't know what to tell you. Okay, now that we got those 10 tips out the way, here's a story about one of the most demoralizing experiences I've ever had among different artists and how I use that to push myself towards my goals. I remember being a sophomore in college and I was in a poetry class. And at the start of the poetry class, like at the very start of the semester, the teacher asked us to share one by one what our poetry goals were. So we were going one by one, sharing our goals. And eventually it got to me, it was my turn. And I told everybody I was gonna be, you know what I mean? And that was one of my goals, that's one of my dreams. And normally I don't share my goals and dreams like that with complete strangers, but I just thought that people in the class would be like competitive with me, like, oh, you think you're gonna be better than us? All right, we'll see about that. Like I was trying to sport some like healthy competition between my classmates, but instead everybody just laughed at me. And I remember that hit really hard, like that really, really hurt. But I reiterated again, like, y'all can laugh, but one day I'm gonna be that poet, so remember my name. And they kept laughing. In fact, they laughed even harder when I said, you better remember my name. Like they laughed and laughed and laughed. Everybody in the class except one person. I will never forget this person. Chris, if you're watching this video, I love you. Thank you so much for believing in me. This was the only person in class who was like, nah, Kendrick, you can do it. Like, you can do it. Like, he looked at me dead in the face. He's like, no, I know you can do it. As saddened and as demoralized as I was, I carried those words with me, all right? I literally put that in a box in my heart, and every time I heard those laughs in my head, I was like, no, Chris believes in me and that's enough. When I tell you, Later on that same semester, I got published for the first time. Not only did I get published for the first time, the teacher found out I got published in the school literary journal, asked me to come to the front of my class and share that poem, the one I got published, to the class. And when I tell you it was about my dreams being laughed at and about me reaching my dreams anyway, the class was silent. I knocked over my water bottle, but the class was silent because they knew that they inspired that poem. You know what I mean? And since then, anytime the thought comes in my head of like, oh man, maybe I can't succeed. Maybe I'm not going to be able to get my poetry collection out. Maybe these YouTube videos aren't going to pop off. Poetry's never going to succeed or anything like that. I'm telling you, I remember those laughs and I remember my friend saying, you can do it, bro. And I use that as motivation. First off, I'm trying to prove them wrong. I'm trying to prove the laughers wrong. And I'm trying to prove my friend right. You know what I mean? And each day I'm pushing more to prove them more wrong and prove him more right. So hopefully that helps. That's probably the most personal story I've ever given on this channel. I'm not really personal. I don't really talk about my life that much. In fact, if y'all want a Q&A, let me know and I'll do a Q&A so y'all can get to know me better. I wasn't very eloquent in this video, but that's because I'm really passionate about this, okay? I hope y'all took something from this. Let me know in the comment section below. Again, buy the Poet Life merch. Y'all won't regret it. I be loving the fit. I got this in like 10 different colors, you know what I mean? So definitely check it out. Link in the description. Discount code YOUNGBLOOD. All right, I hope y'all enjoyed. I'll see you next time.